It's a man of Manetheren here, and I'm coming to you with another video piggybacking off of Prophet of the Dragons video that he just did on this Reddit post that he received or saw on White Cloak's subreddit, and thought it was a bit too ridiculous to not go over because it could very likely be true. Why? Because it's just that stupid. If you thought season 1 was a train wreck, season 2 is going to be magnifying that exponentially because you're trying to make a story off of something that was so bad. So, let's take a look at it. So, what I want to take a look at here is this post. And with this synopsis is just horrible. Um, and I'm only going to pick out a few points here that are worth looking at, in my opinion. So, season 1 tested our core characters and their relationships to each other along their journey. Okay, right away, I'm curious as to what in the world they're talking about. First of all, you got to identify core characters. And typically, what you would see if you read the books, you would think, okay, Nynaeve, Egwene, Moraine, Lan, Rand, Matt, and Perrin, right? 7 characters are basically the main guys. You should add Tom in there. You should add Loyal in there, but we'll just concentrate on the big 7 coming off of our first episode. So now we got to sit there and say, okay, now you've got to test the core characters. How were they tested? So let's run this down, and let's do ladies first because we are chivalrous here uh, and are interested in the ladies. Nynaeve, was she tested? Nope. Why? Well, because she can blast heal everybody when she gets mad, and let us not forget, she defeated Muck and Shin. So she wasn't tested. Well, how about Egwene? Well, no, she wasn't tested because she's unbreakable, and she can save Perrin by somehow magically disappearing her bonds and stabbing White Cloak guys in the shoulder, which gives her the thought that, oh, well, he won't be bothering them again. Shoulder, heart. Oh, never mind. I'm trying to put logic to this. Okay, how about Moraine? Here's a maybe in how she got tested. Um, but she was more tested out of her ignorance because she walked around for 8 episodes, not not a clue of what she was doing, saying she wanted to do this, but then sitting down for 2 to 3 whole episodes, and then questioning whether or not her plan was something that she should be doing. A complete 180 departure from who she was in the books. So that's a maybe, but it's a maybe out of her own complete ignorance. Now we can group Rand, Matt, Perrin, and Lan into one group. No, because we're hardly in the show and we weren't tested. Oh, but what about Matt and the dagger? A couple episodes he was grumpy and then was healed by a Moraine without a problem. What about Rand when was he really tested? Maybe in that little dream event with Ashamael or the Dark One or whomever it was. Well, what about Perrin? He killed his wife. Yes, and then he cried about it for 4 episodes worth. and then was completely silent the rest of the way. And Rand, or Lan, well, Lan was just proud that he was Moraine's puppet, but he's not a puppet, but he really is until he's whipped by Nynaeve in the bedroom, and then she tells him to go find Moraine and how to find Moraine. So yeah. And then how were the relationships between all these people challenged? Well, the only way that they were challenged is if they got their naked on together. I mean, really, that's it. So hashtag CW forever. Anyway, so okay, next. It was a coming of age story. Pardon me while I puke. But when I sit there and consider coming of age stories, that requires character growth. And it requires character growth that is actually within the character, not because they're able to emote crocodile tears. Okay? So we can move on now. It will focus on their next stage of life, finding a place for yourself within the world. Right. Because the Great Hunt, which this season's going to be based off of, was about personal selfish exploration in the world, where you got to look and learn to love yourself despite the dark side that's within you. Give me a break. This is such a joke. Such a joke. The Great Hunt was not about personal exploration within all these people. It's such a it's such a garbage talking point bullet point script piece that is so cliche that I and many others have grown amazingly tired of it. I mean, amazingly tired of it. So, uh, yada, yada, yada. We'll skip a bit here. We get to the next paragraph. We're following after Rand hiding in the cosmopolitan city of Falma as he tries to fight off madness. All right, again, in the Great Hunt, Rand was not fighting the madness at this point. What he was doing was coming to terms with the truth about him, that he had been told that he was the dragon reborn. Not that he came to some conclusion about it, but he's trying to come to terms with it, whether or not it's actually there or whether or not it's um, whether it's true or not. You know. Secondly, his entire goal was chasing after the Horn of Valir because the dagger was inside the chest with the Horn of Valir. Because they needed the dagger to be able to save Matt's life. Now, going back to the previous bullet point, did that have anything to do with personal exploration about finding their way in the world? No. Rand was coming to terms with things for himself, but primary focus was getting the dagger to save his friend. Rand, once again, sacrificed himself, being a man, to be able to help other people live. Big, 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 big difference. Boy. And it just kind of goes into my next point. We have all these individuals in the book. They are going after small objectives for themselves. Egwene, Nynaeve, they're going to be going to try and save Matt and Perrin and Rand, while Rand's going to try and save Matt. They're all going after small objectives while bigger picture things are at play that they're not aware about, or that they are maybe on the periphery, but it's a big thing going on, and they're going after small pieces of the puzzle because they aren't really, their eyes haven't been opened to the bigger picture at this point. Small pieces, they're working towards those things. And what happens in this book is they get their eyes opened wide as to what's really going on at the end of the book. But that's what this is about. Small things amidst a bigger picture. That's it. Oh man, this is. I can understand why Prophet gets so frustrated in his video. And I'll try to link that if you haven't seen it in the bucket. Oh, okay. Here we go. Uh, Egwene and Nynaeve. We're watching Egwene and Nynaeve traverse, being novices within the politics of the White Tower. Now, as I recall, only Nynaeve in the book was raised to a novice. Um, Egwene was just an accepted, but regardless of that, they weren't navigating the politics of the tower. When you're an accepted or a novice, you're not even around the politics. You may be, subjected to them in terms of just how things work out. But if you're an accepted or a novice, you're doing this thing called training. That's what you're doing. Huh. Man, boy, that's amazing. But apparently training and politics go hand in hand for some reason. Oh, man, what nonsense. Now we get into this real kicker. We get into the last paragraph, and they are talking about the Shanchan, a group of people who are the descendants of Artur Hawkwing, the last man who challenged female supremacy of the Aes Sedai. One, I'm trying to recall whether or not the Shanchan, all of them, were really descendants of Artur Hawkwing. And that may be the case. And if you know, mention it in the bucket, because it's dropping my out of my head at the moment. But the last sentence, part of the sentence there, the last man who challenged the female supremacy of the Aes Sedai. I've got a video that's going to be coming out hopefully soon, addressing this very thing. Artur Hawkwing wasn't battling female supremacy. That's not what that was about. Artur Hawkwing was ta'veren, the biggest ta'veren since the breaking of the world, and until Rand was ta'veren, was the biggest one at that point. So events were shaping around him, and it just so happens one of the Forsaken figured it out and came in and became an advisor to him and deceived him. But it wasn't about male-female supremacy at all. It was just about power and using that power to disrupt the order of the world. So this whole female supremacy thing, again, quit shoving it down our throats. It had nothing to do with that. And putting in these little talking points about it every step of the way in your show goes to prove what a garbage writer you are in the show. Now, all of that said, this video could be complete and utter nonsense because the show could be completely different than what that synopsis said. But I wouldn't put it past them either. Either way, I've got my pipe full of tobacco. I'm going to enjoy this. You guys have a good day. Chegar Nivron. Dicharmanethrin.